Today we're going to go get a 1940s Walker lift. Let's go. So a while back, Iron Trap Garage found the DeLorean Roadster stored away in an old shop, and it was sitting on a Walker 4-post lift. And I remember thinking when I watched that, man, that lift is so cool, and I love the history. I would love a chance to be able to own one of those. Fat chance, right? Well, come to find out, they're actually around for 100-year-old lifts, or almost 100-year-old lifts. They're actually around. They're not that hard to find, and they're not that expensive. So in this video, I tracked it down on Facebook Marketplace. I paid the asking price. We'll talk about all that at the end. And I loaded up my dad, my kids, and off we went. Wife had to work, so this adventure was Dad and I. But had a great time. It was about an hour drive away. The guy was really nice. Mike was super nice. He offered to hang on to it for me for a few days while I got my stuff together, right around the holiday there, right through Christmas. I think I found it on the day before Christmas Eve. So super nice guy, the right kind of guy car guys tend to be. And I got some money together and we went and picked the thing up. And it's a little crusty, but it'll clean up. All the bits are there. All the accessories are there. It's super cool. I really dig it. And I can't believe I found one, and so hope you guys enjoy. We'll do a quick little fast motion here on loading it up, time lapse. And at the end, I'll sit down and talk to you about it a bit. But enjoy. picked up our Walker lift. I've been doing a little online digging. These lifts were made in Wisconsin. It looks like they started making them in about 1935. And there's not a ton of information on the internet about them. They were made at least into the 40s. Some guys say into the 50s, but I believe they were just being used in the 50s. I've seen people talking about when they worked in shops in the 1950s and they were using old Walker lifts. Now, Walker started out making jacks, mechanical jacks. In fact, I'm trying to get one locally right now. The one that I'm trying to get locally is patented 1922. So they were there for the very beginning for cars. There's Iron Trap Garage, Matt Murray over Iron Trap Garage. They scored a really neat Walker lift. It looks like the same model roughly as mine. Theirs does not seem to have the bar on the upper bar that mine has. Mine has a second bar inside of that. I did find some other images of lifts similar to mine. Now, my lift, very fortunately, came with a lot of accessories. It came with the ramps that allow you to get up and over. I don't know if you guys have seen Matt's video, but he has to block up to get his car up over the top of the first crossbar. Mine has the ramps, you know, it drops down in there and then you can roll right up over the top. He also ended up with two rear end lift points. Now mine has two front end lift points and one rear end lift point. There's definitely a lot of accessories for these things that allow you to do all different kinds of things, including lifting cars, you know, that have independent front suspension like 50s cars would. It's a really neat lift though. It's a really simple lift. As long as your cables are in good shape, it's a really safe lift. It runs on 220, so I'll be able to plug it right in and where I plug in my welder. It has locks. You know, it lifts to 6 feet and then locks. It's a really neat lift. It'll work well for the space that I have because I don't have a real tall area in my carport. But I think what we're going to need to do is pour 4 2x2 pads. I'm going to pour a whole slab out there, but I'm not sure I want to wait until I pour the slab to put the lift up. So we may just pour 4, probably 8-inch deep rebar reinforced pads for the 4 posts, and that way we can actually bolt them down and have it be really secure. Obviously, we're gonna have to clean it up quite a bit and paint it and grease it and oil it and do a bunch of maintenance. Hopefully, the electric motor works, but if not, you know, we'll source an electric motor. They're around. One of the really neat things about the history of these. Now, my lift, the guy I bought it from said that his son picked it up in 1991 when a Corvallis, Oregon auto shop was they were upgrading their lifts to 2-post lifts, and they were completely fitted with these Walker 4-post lifts, and he actually bought 2 of them from them at that point. He since sold the other lift to his neighbor for storage, you know, an over-under storage type of deal. But pretty cool history on these is a lot of these lifts from the 30s. You know, if you think about the way things were in the 1930s, there was not a lot of garages that had lifts. And the few that did, there were the hydraulic single cylinder lifts. But a lot of these Walker 4-post lifts come out of dealerships and came out of auto plants. Now, I don't know if Walker was making lifts as early as 1932, but in 1932, there was still a factory, a Ford factory in Portland, Oregon. So potentially possible, you know, that some lifts may have come out of there. I don't know. From what I've researched, it appears as though my lift really matches up well with a 1935, 1936. It's a 1005, I believe, model Series G. And it has serial number. I did find somebody else who actually had posted on, I think, garagejournal.com about theirs. And theirs is the same model, same series, and it also is, I think, 400 serial numbers below mine, which is really neat if you think about it, that here, you know, almost 100 years later, 90 years later, these lifts are still being revived and guys are still lifting cars with them and using them regularly. I mean, there's not a ton of information out there, but they're around. They're around and they're in a really affordable price range. The biggest thing I'll caution anybody on is check your cables. These do have locks. You can use screw jacks to put up underneath, you know, as a secondary security measure. But check your cables, check for fraying, make sure the cables are good. You can buy new cables for these for $250 online. I found them. You know, with anything, there's risks, but these seem to be pretty well built machines. I mean, they're 100 years old and they're still going strong. This one's going to need a lot of cleanup, but I'm really looking forward to using it. I'm really looking forward to being able to work on cars from the 20s and 30s on a lift from the 30s. I can only imagine how many shops that thing's been in and how many cars it's had on it, how many hot rods were built on it back in the day. It's a pretty cool feeling. Kind of like my shop here. You know, I don't know how many hot rods could have been built in this shop, but this building, though heavily patched, is probably one of the oldest buildings in the town I live in. And it's built out of reclaimed wood because you can tell it has non-grounded cloth wrapped wire, non-grounded outlets and cloth wrapped wire hanging, not hooked up, but hanging on the walls still, which tells you probably 1950s. And that the fact that the wood's reclaimed means the wood's even older than that. And it's all really interesting, thick milled wood that probably came out of somebody's barn, you know. I mean, so it's really neat to get to work on these cars in these kinds of spaces with these kinds of tools. And I get a real kick out of that. It really takes me to a different time and lets me immerse myself in an era that sometimes I wish I was born in. But yeah, I'm really happy to have gotten this lift. I will say the sale price of the lift, because I think it's helpful to you guys. I paid $250 for it. I'm happy to get a lift for $250. I've seen other guys saying they paid $200 for theirs within the last 5 years. I've seen guys saying they paid $400 for theirs. So it seems like, you know, probably below $500 is a good place to be on one of these lifts that needs some cosmetic cleanup and needs some repairs. You know, one in tip-top shape, I'd imagine probably go for $800 to $1,000 if you had it all cleaned up, perfect operating. You know, everything was tip-top, well painted. I would expect it would fetch a minimum of 800 plus. You know, and that's just a guess. That's just a guess. But I like to try to help you guys out and be honest and upfront about pricing and stuff, because when I got into this, it seemed like everywhere, you know, you watch Iron Trap or you watch other guys, and everywhere you go, guys want to play their cards real close because they don't want to show you how much money they're spending on stuff. It's a business for them. I get that. But it leaves young guys like I was once, and like I still sort of am, it leaves us not really knowing what we should pay for things, not really knowing what kind of deals we should have, not really knowing how to barter for things, because we don't know. You know, we see guys buying stuff and we don't know if they paid $10 or $100. I did not barter on this lift at all. I was happy at $250. The guy was really friendly. Mike, I really appreciate everything, all your help loading it. It was great. It was great. For $250, you can't go down to Harbor Freight and buy a floor jack for $250. You know, so I'm happy. I'm absolutely tickled, and I'm really looking forward to using this thing. But hope you guys found it enjoyable. Appreciate you liking and subscribing and tuning in for future content. I do have a Vivor ultrasonic cleaner coming, a 6-liter. I know they've been reviewed, but I'm going to review it from a hot rod standpoint. So I'm going to be cleaning up some greasy bolts, the old animal product based grease. You know, I'm going to see how that stuff comes off. I'm going to be cleaning up some carburetor bodies, some Hollies, and we'll just kind of see how it works. I got it for a really good price. I think I used Mad Ginger Customs. I used Mad Ginger Customs code for 5% off. So it was already on sale from 120 down to 102. And then I got another 5% off. So I got it shipped to me for free for $97. So I'm pretty happy with the buy. For a 6-liter ultrasonic cleaner, it'll make carb rebuilds a breeze. We'll do a carb rebuild video as well. But just for the sake of cleaning it up, we'll do a little review on the Vevor and see how it works. I'll do an unboxing. You guys can see the whole thing. It's not sponsored. I paid for it, but tools of the trade, you know. And hopefully soon we'll be back into building hot rods a little more. I'll have a little more time for that. But appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hate mail down below, whatever. I'll see you guys on the next one.